The graph of f of x is equals to 2 to the power of negative x is sketched below. So this is the sketch of 2 to the negative x. The first question here asks you to determine the equation of the inverse. Inverse is the transformation of x and y into y and x. So what I'm doing is anywhere I see x, I replace it with y. Anywhere I see y, I replace it with x. That's the concept of inverse. So we're asked to determine the equation of the inverse of f in the form of f to the power of negative 1 x. So to determine the equation of the inverse, we write our equation first of all, which, as you know, can be written as this. X and y changes places. So to get our answer, we need to write this equation in log form. So this here can be written as y is equals to the log of half x. We could also say, since that's what they wanted, this is the log of half x. That's the answer. That's it. So B says draw the graph of the inverse on the set of axes, clearly showing all the intercepts with this axis. From the original question, the y-intercept is equals to 1. We know this because when you substitute this, it gives you 1 for y. So if our y-intercept here is 1, it would mean that our x-intercept for the inverse would be 1. Since, as you know, y and x change places. And from there, we can also draw our graph. And the graph here would look like this, more or less. And that's it. Now, the next question tells us to find the range of the inverse, right? So looking at our inverse graph, this is our inverse graph. To find our range, we need to figure out all the possible values for y. Now, since our graph is starting from positive infinity, we know that because it's moving in that direction. And from this arrow here, we see that it's also going to go down to negative infinity. That would be the range of this graph. So writing that down, so is y is an element of negative infinity to infinity. Or you could also say y is an element of real numbers. Any of those are absolutely right. Now D says calculate the value of x if fx is greater than 8. Now the question tells us that f of x is equals to 2 to the negative x. So we replacing f of x with 2 to the negative x, we can say that that is greater than 8. Then simplifying this, but we have to use logs, is x is greater than the log of 2 to the 8. Okay? So now substituting this in our calculator, we can say is the log of 2 to the 8. That gives you 3. So we know that negative x is greater than 3. But since we want x, because that's what the question asks, the values of x, not negative x, we can say x is less than negative 3. That would be your answers.